Here's what we're going to do today. We're going to go over land because there's a big opportunity for land, not only just in the state of Massachusetts, but nationwide. We have a housing shortage. We have regulations that are being lifted on new construction and stuff, and it's going to be a very big opportunity for people over the next couple years. And even if you are not the expert in land and in development, if you can identify, if you can at least like see what a potential deal could be like, I promise you, you could just bring it to somebody in your market that knows what the heck they're doing. They'll jump on it, and you could be making hundreds of thousands of dollars in 2025 just looking at land. People are being bullish on land. I'm telling you, I've been talking to wholesalers and developers in my area, and they're going bananas. One, in the state of Massachusetts, there's a couple laws that have went in effect for ADUs and for multifamily development and stuff like that that are a big deal. And they're making valuations of land go like 5 to 10x, which is crazy, which is what I'm going to get into today. But two, the new administration, that's what they want. They want to lift regulations on building. They want more housing. They want more development. That's from what I understand. Now, like I said earlier, I'm not a political guy and I'm not super educated, but from the surface level information that I got at my fingertips, the administration wants to lift as much regulation on new construction homes for the purpose of having more housing. And that means there's a massive opportunity. It's a massive opportunity not only for wholesalers and agents, but also developers. Because it's like, developers, this is what developers do. You guys think that cash buyers, developers, and rehabbers are sitting here talking to sellers all day and cold calling agents on their listings? I promise you they are not. They are not. They don't even know, they wouldn't even know the first word to say to a seller. They would get on the phone and just say, as is, cash offer, 200,000. I'm telling you, they do not know how to talk to people. With that being said, what developers and cash buyers do is they network with people like myself and agents and stuff like that that have deals, and we send them the deals. So they're getting deals sent to their email, to their text messages, to their Facebook all day. And they're underwriting those deals. So there's developers out here right now that are getting all these deals to their email, and they're passing up on opportunities that are actually banger opportunities, but because they aren't educated on the laws that are passed or on the regulations that have been put in place or lifted, then they're missing out on those deals. Realtors and wholesalers, the people that are going out and marketing, the people that can actually talk to sellers and negotiate, what we're doing is we're looking at all the leads that are coming into our CRM. We're looking at all the potential opportunities that are on the market. We're giving offers, and we're getting told no. Mainly, what is the main reason why a seller or an agent tells you no to an offer?
Maybe it's too low or someone else got to it before you.
Ooh, I like the second one. But yeah, the first one, the price. It's simply the price. So what's happening is wholesalers and agents are marketing to sellers, and the agents are going on listing appointments, and the sellers are telling them an egregious price, and they're like, listen, you're not even serious. Like, what are you talking about? I'll never get that price. Same thing with wholesalers. Like, we're talking to sellers, and they're saying egregious numbers, and we're like, oh, no, we can never do that price. But we actually might be able to do that price. I would argue to say that a lot of the times the agent or the wholesaler isn't doing a good enough job at negotiating and digging and finding motivation. That's part of the main problem. But two, a lot of the times it is the price. Maybe there's a mortgage on the property that doesn't allow your offer to work. Like maybe there's just no motivation at all, and they're super comfortable with their resources that they have at the current moment. And they don't need to sell, but they would sell at, 1.5 to 2x of the price that you would give them. Here's what I'm getting at. In Massachusetts alone, with this law that just passed, well, the law got passed a few years back, like 4 years back. Cities and towns are to comply by the end of the year. Some of them have already had deadlines, and some of them already have complied or halfway complied. that is bringing the valuation of these pieces of land like to an enormous price. So the MBTA Communities Act requires 177 cities and towns to establish at least one district of reasonable size in which multifamily housing is permitted as of right. Okay, this is a big deal. Permitted as of right. I'm going to get into what that means. Where possible, the district must be within a half a mile from the public transportation, commuter rail, bus station, ferry, terminal, or subway. So here's what let me pull this up actually. MBTA multi-family map. Okay, so for my people in the state of Massachusetts, here's the map. This is where all these communities lie. Okay, now if you look here, there's different types of communities. Rapid transit. Actually, let me back up for a second. There's 3 different types of cities that they're talking about. These 3 different cities have 3 different timelines of when they need to comply. But before we get into that, what I'll get into is the purpose behind it. Boston is a very dense city. In that means that there's no parking. Like, it is a pain in the butt to park. Anybody that's from the state of Massachusetts or visited Massachusetts before, throw a 1 in the chat if you know that the parking is egregious in Boston. Like, throw a 1 in the chat if you have dealt with egregious parking in Boston. Whether you have paid a ton of money for parking garage or you just could not find a spot. Look at all those 1s in the chat. Okay? It's ridiculous. And that's part of the problem. So what they're trying to do, the MBTA is it's a public transportation system, okay, that has buses, trains, commuter rails, all the things. So this is for public transportation. In Boston is a pain in the butt because there's no parking, okay? So getting in and out of Boston and parking your car there is the worst. With that being said, what they're doing is all these cities that are surrounded that are involved in some sort of public transportation, the state of Massachusetts is saying like, hey, you need to build more multi-family houses near your public transportation so the people stop driving to Boston, which cuts down on traffic, which, by the way, throw another 1 in the chat if you've ever sat in Boston traffic. That's another part of their reason. Everybody has sat in, it's the worst. Okay? So what they're doing is a city that's like 45 minutes outside of Boston, or a town that's 45 minutes outside of Boston, but has public transportation like a town like Bridgewater. Bridgewater has a commuter rail. What they want to do is they want to put multifamily near that commuter rail, because when that multifamily is near the commuter rail, instead of those people that live in Bridgewater that would drive to Boston and have their car, which ends up screwing up traffic, which ends up screwing up parking, they're going to stay home and they're just going to take the commuter rail. It's going to incentivize them to do that. That's one of the main reasons. Also, another reason is the housing shortage. So this is just going to be, it's another play for the state of Massachusetts to get more housing. We have a housing problem. Okay, so that's really the main reasons. But if you look at this map, there's 4 main categories. Rapid transit. This is everywhere. Here's Boston, like right in this circle right here. These people already had to comply. They had to comply like last year sometime, I believe. By the way, if they don't comply, then the state of Massachusetts is pulling funding in other areas of their town. For I don't really know the exact like where they would pull the funding from, but they're pulling funding in the event you don't comply. The town of Milton, which is like right around here, didn't want to comply, and now they're in a court case with the attorney general. So like Massachusetts is taking this serious. They're not playing games. But anyways, rapid transit. This community has already had their time when they needed to comply by. Let me just pull these up actually. So you got the rapid transit communities that we had talked about. They had to comply by December 31st, 2023. That was a little bit over a year ago. So all those cities that you saw in the middle of Boston, they had to comply by, already a year ago. The commuter rail communities. So let me pull that up for you guys. The commuter rail communities, which is this greenish color, they needed to comply by like a month and a half ago, by the end of 2024, December 31st, 2024. The rest of the cities need to comply by the end of 2025. So here's what's happening. You're seeing a lot of these commuter rail communities already have complied. You're seeing some of them have halfway complied. You see that some of them haven't complied at all. Okay, and there's going to be consequences for not complying, which means pulling funding. So at some point, every single town and city, here's the thing. Every single town and city has their own way of having their meetings, right? They'll have like a meeting once a month, and they go over stuff like this. They'll say like, hey, the state of Massachusetts is making this law. We have to comply. How are we going to comply? When are we going to comply? When are we going to do this? But every single state and city has different systems, and they have different departments, and they have different types of workers. You know what I mean? So every single city and state is not on the same page doing the same exact thing. Okay? Jeremiah asks, how do we know if they have complied or not? Hey, Dave, could you put a list in the side chat with the cities that have complied and haven't?
Yeah, I already have it on my computer. I got you.
Appreciate it. Yeah, so we're already on the ball. We already got all the people that have complied, haven't complied, and are halfway complied. So you guys will have that in the side chat. Okay, so you guys get the basis of what's going on in that sense? Okay, so as my team was about to release this video, I was like, you know what? We got to give the YouTube channel a little bit more context for what we're talking about here. This video is a recorded Zoom from wholesalemike.com, and on that Zoom, we went into the weeds on what the regulations were for this law and all the details. But it was a super long Zoom, and it just was too long for a YouTube video. So to sum things up for you guys, by the way, that Zoom is every single month at wholesalemike.com for free. So feel free to go to wholesalemike.com and fill out your information, and you will get the notifications when we do those Zooms. But to sum things up for this law, pretty much here's what's happening. Let's just say, for example, right now you have a single lot in a specific town where these changes are happening in Massachusetts. And before this change went into effect, let's just say for that specific lot, by right, you could only build one single family house. Well, what does that mean? That means that that lot is worth how much a builder would pay for it, with the thought in mind of, hey, I can build a single family house here and either rent it out or resell it later on. That's how they're running their numbers. That is what the value of that lot is. The value of a lot is based off of what you can build. So let's think about this. Let's just say you take that specific lot that before you might only be able to build one single family by right. Now this change goes into effect and the city allows you to build 15 units plus. Well, a builder's going to pay much more for that lot if they can build a 15-unit building versus a single-family house, because the valuation of a 15-unit building is much more than a single family. So this means that there's going to be pieces of land where the value is going to jump up significantly because what you can build on that particular piece of land. Because now a developer is going to say, hey, instead of building a single family that's worth $500,000, we can build a 15-unit building that's worth millions of dollars. You guys get what I'm saying? What does that mean for wholesalers? Well, that means that in your CRM or even on-market deals, you're underwriting these things. And let's just say you have a piece of land in it. The numbers are kind of tight at, what you could build as far as a single family goes, but maybe you can build a 15-unit building here. Dude, your offer might be $100,000 based off of the single family. But if a builder knows that they can build 15 units, that piece of land might be worth 500 grand. Now, these are just for sake of example numbers, but the valuation of these pieces of land are going to go up significantly. Same thing for developers. Developers, they're receiving all these potential deals to their pipeline, and they're just saying no to them because they're like, oh, those numbers are super tight. I can only build a single family. But maybe they just don't know that in that town, the zoning change right there for that specific lot, and they can actually build 15 units. So that's what's crazy here. We broke all this down at wholesalemike.com. I'm probably going to go a little bit more deeper into it next month. But what I'm going to do for part 2 of this video, this isn't really going to have to do with the specific Massachusetts law. We're just going to dig into land. So for this next video, part 2 of this video that you guys are watching right now, we're going to dig into land. We're going to dig into the requirements that you want to look at and how to identify whether a piece of land is buildable or not. I'll catch you in part 2.